Hi guys, we start with this discussion of three agents which I will call fourth generation antipsychotics. This term is not formalized and we're using fourth generation because it does not act on D2 receptors like first generation. It is not a D2,5-HT2A antagonist like second generations. It is not a dopamine modulator like aripiprazole which is third generation. So I will call them fourth generation antipsychotics because they work on systems other than dopamine except for lumateperone. But I'm going to make an exception for lumateperone because it's recently introduced and it's almost like a first in class. It did not reach the level of efficacy to warrant a first in class branding in the FDA, but it's got a very novel way of working. Okay. So we start with lumateperone, also called Caplita. You can see the developer's name and you can see the timeline when it was approved in the USA. 2019 में schizophrenia and 2021 में bipolar depression. What is important? You have to remember it's multimodal, like vilazodone. Multimodal, and it works on three systems, which is unique. It works on dopamine, it works on serotonin, and it works on glutamate indirectly through D1. And this is what makes it very, very unique. What also makes it unique is it acts on D2 receptors, but in a very unique manner. So D2 receptors are presynaptic and these are postsynaptic. Usual dopamine blockers would block both D2 presynaptic and D2 postsynaptic. Now, just understand this. D2 presynaptic को block करेंगे तो more dopamine release होगा, है ना? Then you'll say, how is that possible? You get EPS, you get all of that. How can more dopamine be released? But how the first generation acts is it also blocks the D2 to a greater extent to counteract. So you need higher doses of D2, postsynaptic D2 blockade to counteract the excess dopamine release. So you get more EPS and the dulling of the mode. What lumateperone does, and it's still under investigation, how it does is it's a D2 presynaptic agonist, partial agonist. So it acts like a brake and stops dopamine release. So you need lesser amount of the drug to block the D2 postsynaptic, and so EPS is lesser. So lesser metabolic, lesser side effects, lesser neurological symptoms are noted here. I hope you understood this. All right. 5-HT2A antagonist तो है ही, SERT inhibition भी होगा, and with the glutamatergic system, it enhances NMDA receptor function indirectly though by modulating D1 receptor activity. So this is what makes it very different. You must mention multimodal in your exam. You must look for keywords. So these three agents that I'm talking about, lumateperone, pimavanserin and Cobenfy, they have high chance of kind of appearing for your exam. So please look at this very carefully. Kinetics, you'll have to go through all of these three very carefully because more or less you can expect them to come. Okay. The oral bioavailability is very poor, 4.4. Half-life is 18 hours, so once daily dosing. And these are all the enzymes, hepatic enzymes, which act on it and metabolize it. Excretion is in feces and urine. Dosage is for schizophrenia 42 milligram once daily, for bipolar depression also once daily with or without mood stabilizers. There were other doses as well, so 10.5 tha, 21 tha, but these are not used anymore. We just ask for 42 milligram once daily. The major side effect you'll have to mention is somnolence. Very common and you must not miss this. Then we go to selective 5-HT2A antagonist. So note, no D2 here. Only acting on serotonergic receptors. And what is this medicine? Pimavanserin, also called Nuplazid, FDA approved in 2016. So initially it was approved for Parkinson's disease psychosis, and the mechanism of action is it's an inverse agonist or an antagonist at 5-HT2A receptor. Very important. It has a 5-fold lower affinity at 5-HT2C. All right. So it can be used not just in Parkinson's disease with psychosis, but it can be used as an adjunct to antidepressant as well. Can decrease cognitive symptoms in schiz because serotonergic receptors पे काम कर रहा है. So lesser EPS, more lesser cognitive dulling. पहले with Parkinson's disease, we used to give clozapine or quetiapine. to decrease the EPS burden, but with pimavanserin, it is the approved indication for the same. Pharmacokinetics, it is 99% bioavailable, so quite a high bioavailability is there. You have one major active metabolite which has a half-life of almost 200 hours. Okay, and the half-life for pimavanserin is 57 hours. Time to peak concentration, protein binding, metabolism, all of this is mentioned here. So please learn this by heart. The dosing is 34 milligram once daily. That's all you need to know. And the adverse effect profile, simple. Around 5% peripheral edema, confusional state, nausea. Incidence around 2%, which is moderately common, slightly common. You'll have all signs of increased dopamine, like hallucinations, nausea, confusion, constipation, gait disturbances, possible QT prolongation in a small subproportion. Then we go to the newest addition to the armamentarium. This is called Cobenfy, which is a combination of xanomeline and trospium. Okay, it's been recently FDA approved in 2024. Okay, and it's first in class of muscarinic agonist for the treatment of schizophrenia, and we get a new mechanism of action after 70 years. Selectively targets M1 and M4 receptors in the brain. So M1 top down it affects and M4 bottom up it affects without blocking the D2 receptors. And we have a fixed dose. So xanomeline is the active M1 agonist, but trospium is the peripheral anticholinergic to decrease the peripheral effects of xanomeline. Okay. Xanomeline was initially identified for Alzheimer's disease. It was used for Alzheimer's disease maybe a couple of decades back, but cholinergic peripheral effects were so much that it could not be used. Okay. They noticed that in Alzheimer's disease, it did not help with the cognition, but it definitely helped with the psychotic symptoms.